It occurred to me to do something that I have done at this point hundreds of times. Every single time I think, man, I should have really captured this process in some way. So I am taking a look at something that I know next to nothing about: anvils, the world of turn of the century blacksmithing. I was up at Maker Camp and I was talking to Andrew Burke and John Mulhern. One of them or both of them was telling me I need to look at anvils as a kind of an area of design and just cool imagery. So I took their advice. Two of the coolest stickers I've ever seen. John Mulhern, Andrew Burke. Top that, To both of you guys, thank you for the suggestion, and also potentially screw you because you've sent me down yet a new and exciting rabbit hole. Axes was the last bottomless spiral. There's some real beauty in the history of axes. What we're going to take a look at is American Blacksmith. Looks like there's 18 volumes, 1901 to 1918. First 20 years of the 20th century. And I, masochist that I am, went through every single one. Every volume is roughly 360, 370 pages. There's 18, whatever that math is. Probably take 10 minutes or 4 hours. This isn't one of those quick 30-second videos where I'm gonna dancing for TikTok or something. I mean, who knows? Maybe by the end. We got some Trenton. That was their original cover is beautiful. So we got Peter Wright. Very cool old Buffalo Forge. I won't nerd out on all this stuff too deeply. That's not true. I will. Chaz Parker, a lot of Parker stuff. There's some funny stuff in here too. Some very cool themes in the transition from horses to cars over 20 years or so. It's actually really, I don't know if it's beautiful or fascinating or sad or all of those things. A bunch of Nicholson stuff. There's so much interesting imagery around horseshoeing. Care for your horse's feet before cars became a thing, and they started talking about how worthless horses are now. This I made some prints of. Parker, another really cool Parker. Soderfors. I have a fondness for Swedish anything, honestly. No matter how wide my screen is, it is never ever wide enough. Perfect world, I'd have about a 9-foot wide screen, a hardwood floor, and I could just roll from one end of it to the next. Hey Budden, here we go. At the turn of the century, these guys were so proud of these award medallions up from the various expositions. It was the J.D. Power and Associates Award, is or was for cars, I guess, for tool makers. There's probably no truth to that. See that recessed base? Look at that if. Old school cool, man. This looks like chaos. What did I like about this? Prentice. The learned blacksmith hammering something down. I can't imagine he's blowing something. He's not a glass blower. This is the crescent I know and love. Focus. Bic face and end all one solid wrought iron forging face steeled with finest quality Sheffield steel. That means a lot to someone who isn't me. I don't know if it's house paint or what. Carriage paints. Okay, of course, carriage paints. Paint should be like a good wife. Wear well. The horseshoer. I hope you guys who actually know about anvils are appreciating all the ways that I'm going to inevitably and already have been butchering these brand names. There is gold in these here hills. One thing that you'll see, because there was this theme emerging, is basically the transition from horses to cars and the sentiment. Yeah, some of these would make killer t-shirts. Fat Old Man, B.L. Smith, Dealer. Horse buggy and the car. This is 1910, so right in the middle. First car security system, or only $4. Joyriders, petty thieves, and sneak thieves, not to be confused with petty thieves. 15 years in these, they're talking about horse thieves and stuff. Damn, look at that. I don't know if horseshoes actually had spikes like that. 24 by 36 in color. I wonder if we can still order one. Oh, look at that. Look at that Cleveland twist drill. For our own army. A crescent, perplexity of John Smith. Ooh, 1912 calendar just dropped. Look at that. Oh, and don't forget to ask your jobber about Keystone's draft spring. Use horse sense. I'd love to know what all these horse-based terms are too. Adding to my body of esoteric knowledge about things that have no and will never have any utility to my day-to-day working life. There's a nice Trenton lockup. Look at that lettering. Damn, I'd like to see that in its original glory, the latest step in the evolution of the horse. See, this is like where they started like still referring to horses, to motorized things, as like horses, and they still treated them like horses. I'll just leave that there for a second. Little Giant, there we go, some Little Giant. Peter Wright, that's a great piece of art. That's definitely one I'm going to work with. Oh, if anyone needs to get their Barkus horse stock, it is the most easily operated, the simplest, best in principle, and perfect in every detail, as said by George Barkus. No affiliation with the Barkus horse stock. This I just thought was, there's a lot of like advertising for people who do electrotype and engraving. Nice eagle, handsome eagle. What more beautiful creature is there than the perfectly formed, glossy-coated draft animal? And horse is better looking than any car of that time. So eagle, so there's Fisher and Norris, and maybe it's like Eagle was the Anvil brand, and Fisher they use for vices. I'm not exactly sure. Points to remember. A lot of horse nail advertisements. Is that just for horseshoes? That's my naive, my like 8-year-old assumption. It's like horseshoes need horse nails. I should probably save my file. I gotta figure out if it's Budden, neither, both. I don't know anything about Ideal, but I love their emblem. Trenton, that's a nice Trenton piece. Oh my god, what a stupid, highly complex system I've created here. Arm & Hammer. Okay, so Columbus is Arm & Hammer. Alright, tell you what, for my attention span and yours, I am just simply going to go through the rest of these. I'm not going to do my sorting and organizing. I find myself bored by that as I go. Therefore, you probably will be too. So, nicely knolled car. Half of one. The New Helper. Here's where they start kind of taking shots at horses. What can you do with an old horse? Nothing. What can you do with an old auto? Da, 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 da. Look at that bulldog, man. I don't care what they're selling. I'll buy it. No, horseshoes. Okay. Right here. The automobile of all inventions is the farmer's greatest time saver. And in contrast to things you'll see in many years prior, where they're just like in awe of the majesty of the horse, and nothing could ever replace the horse, you know. There's the other half of that car. Let's put them together. We can at least put the car together. Okay, there we go. OCD side quest. Modern blacksmithing, now available in 8-inch thick hardback. Looks like he's scratching his back with this tool there. Buffalo Forge. Look at that buffalo's got more charm than others I've seen. And if I'm not mistaken, they've even focused on the correct anatomy of the mid region. And the buffalo knows it. That eye makes a big difference to that illustration. Peter Wright. She is not in a wheelchair, although it could look like that. Ah, that's awesome. Look at that. Look at that imagery for the American woman. 10-pound anvil and a 900-pound monster. Full-page spread. Essay on horses. We used to think him mighty fleet, but now the auto has him beat. We used to think him very strong, but tractors show where we were wrong. I don't know the overall sentiment of that. It might actually come back to praise horses. Kind of doubt it based on the year. Kennedy Auto. Don't let the petty affairs of political strife disturb your business. Chaz Parker. Cool Carry Hard ad. Keep forging ahead. Pun unavoidable. Your son, give him a man's job. There we go. There's one from 1913. Got the son folding doilies in the department store, and the buddies of the blacksmith. I don't know what that means. With apologies to power. I've seen about 6 versions of this as I've gone through, and if I only found this one and didn't look for all of them, I'd be starting from like the crappiest place possible. Well, they obviously didn't have Xerox back in the day, but whatever the equivalent is of like a copy of a copy of a copy, coffee spilled on it, cigarette put out on it, copied again. That's a nice piece of anvil from Trenton there. Trade papers, scaring away all of the failure, bugaboos, and other problems of your business. Nice Armstrong woodcut. I call it a woodcut. Just nice line art. Someone didn't get their ad in on time. At some point, I don't know what year, when was this? 1911. Randomly, they started doing these like really vibrant front page spreads with color. I don't know. Maybe they discovered color. Whatever it is, they're really striking. Colombian This is Colombian, but I've also seen Columbus. So I guess they are different. This is Colombian. And little boy on guard, protecting and guaranteeing the quality of Colombian vices and ambles. See what I mean? Look at that awesome Phoenix. I hope there's a bulldog like that, because I think Phoenix had the bulldog and the Phoenix, obviously rising. There's a man putting in a day's work. Aha! Now we understand why there is so much enthusiasm about the Fordson tractor, and we will admit that this picture isn't the least bit hard on the eyes. See that, gentlemen? Don't let your wives see you looking at this trade paper. This is just hilarious. I don't even know what is this for. I don't care. Oh, okay. We manufacture everything from a tack to a complete vehicle. Have you any friends? Man's most faithful helpers. This is like 1913, but this is like perfect example of like the reverence they had for horses. I think women, if they are healthy, can do manual labor the same as men, and while I am not as strong as father, I can shoe a horse and build a wagon all right. Horse nails. Nice ad for horse nails. As we've learned, horse nails are what secure the horse's shoe to its feet. I have no idea if that's true. Oh, here we go. Look at this. Camper. What is this? This is... Okay, so now, 1918, we've fully adopted cars so much that we're like converting them into campers, I believe. You've all read the story about 3 men in a boat. This is a picture of 2 men in an auto, perfectly satisfied and comfortable, if one is to judge from the serenity of their expressions. You be the judge. They do look perfectly satisfied and comfortable. This is not Soderfor's Cisco Superior, the Swedish anvil. I feel like that's some like shade being thrown towards Soderfor's, but I'm thinking that Cisco and Soderfor's are entirely different, and maybe there's some shots fired between one or the other. The Swedish anvil. I would take that personally if I was Soderfor's. Nice. That's a great composition. Superior in construction, unparalleled in quality, famous the world over. That's great. That would make, with some work, a killer shirt. Little things like they have all their text justified into like that nice rectangular lockup. That's just tight. 2 ways of giving instruction: a call down or an explanation. Which do you use? Here's our favorite set of twins again. Buob and show. Jeez. Buob and show. Buob and shoe. So that's Buob, and that's shoe. What a great and terrible name for a company. That's worth investigating. I feel like there's a story there. Oh, that's a cool. Look at that. Lafitte welding plates. That's a cool illustration. I think you can kind of see like the patterns that emerge and the kind of the, I don't know, like certain designs pop out as like the most compelling and the most interesting. Basically what I'll do now is like kind of submine through all these, consolidate all the duplicates and kind of find the best, and then just pull out a few and just like make something beautiful. There's a lot of potential here. So if anyone actually made it through this with me, or skipped to this point, whatever, if anything like jumps out to you as like, oh my god, I would definitely like rock that on a shirt, or like a big poster print, or like an actual like sign reproduction. I do a lot of that, obviously. If anyone like is interested in something, just tell me, and like it'll be a priority for me if I know that a few people want X, Y, or Z. Because otherwise, it just comes down to like what I find interesting to do next. And that doesn't mean anyone wants to wear that shirt or hang that sign or whatever. Tell me if something's interesting to you. It doesn't take much for me to clean it up and get it on a shirt and in the mail to you, or like strapped down to my CNC, carved into something cool. Yeah, consider this an absurdly complicated menu of things that I totally can make for 1 or 100 or 1,000 people who might might be into something here. So now I know marginally more about anvils and significantly more about horseshoeing. I've done this hundreds of times at this point with all the brands that I've already kind of like studied and dissected and turned into stuff. Maybe sometime I could just show like my art boards, kind of show what this turns into, further down the line, because I've obviously done that with like, every brand you could think of. This is basically like first draft, just rough organization of a really cool body of historical imagery. First step in a pretty straightforward but cool process. Turns into something interesting. I mean, like, hey bud, and I started messing with, pulled out like some vise I found, and I made these. I just made a few prints of these. Photoshop beta giving me a headache. And if you recognize one of these photos, it's because I found it on your Instagram or online or whatever. I'll wrap it there. That's all for now. More to come.